Pure Melaninites are those guardian beings who originally appeared green, as in the abundant green color of nature in its life and health, before coming to this world's environment filled with iron that did cause them to rust. This therefore was humanity's original genetic color. In this day, if a child was born appearing greenish in undertone or hue, there are those of the lesser Illuminati in the hospitals that monitor for such an occurrence, who would seek to kill the child by putting a pin into the brain, or by tracking the child down through life until they can eliminate them. This they fear, because it is viewed amongst them that this would symbolize the birth of the original guardians in flesh, and an end to their rule. The Book of Adam, 1 Bread to Till the Ground, 2:142-143, when the Neteru, guardian descendants, took residence in Arcturus, the original home of the Taros, they mixed their seed with them who were copper tone in hue, while the guardian descendants were olive green tone in hue. This mixture is why the Neterot, guardian ancestors, appear copper tone in hue. This mixing took place for 7,000 years. The Book of the Four Rivers, 5:2-17, these same ancient Kushites became black-skinned or Kishits by the rusting in their blood. These Kishits were one of the 14 tribes of Neteru, guardian descendants, that came down from the Crystal City, Re's Manjet. The Book of the High Priest Malak-Zodok, 19:6-71, there to eliminate the birth of any supreme being by an injection with a hypodermic needle into the base of the brain with a drug called PCP, phenylcyclohexylpiperidine called angel dust, that which could reduce an angelic to mere dust, injected into the hippocampus area in order to deaden the parotid gland. A true melaninite is a blue-black, purple-black to dark reddish-brown child of melanin, who has within their very DNA the power to communicate interdimensionally with those of their genetic seed. We say this as each racial family of humanity has its own growth rate, blood values, bone and neuralgic sequence, that proves how each racial family is unique, from yet interdependent upon the other. Now, the largest population of people on Earth is the Nubian Melaninite family, who has certain main features which makes you the most unique and superior peoples of this great planetary home of ours called Mother Earth, the female, as this is a feminine planet, having feminine forces called centrifugal, thereby making the females of Earth more advanced, as far as developmental skills and abilities than the males. Thus, the female survival rate is greater than that of the male, for females were here first. Thus, true melaninites and the children they produce are more advanced, as far as the development of their nerves, skin and hair, so much so that the strength of your sun heat genes causes the development of permanent teeth earlier than those who lack an abundance of melanin. Even the bone development is more advanced in Nubian Melaninite children regardless of financial status, to the point where Nubian Melaninite infants are more developmentally advanced than Caucasus children, as far as motor skills etc., though we are not as long or heavy at birth, as they are. So we say to all of you as members of humanity, that you must always remember your bodies are the vehicles that have been given to you by the guardian descendants and guardian ancestors, children of the Most High Ray, in order that you utilize it to earn your way back to the heavenly ones who live in your very DNA. The Book of Adam, 1 Bread to Till the Ground, 2:144, eating the improper foods or overeating overloads your body as well. Overeating overexerts all of the organs in the body just to digest the food. Which is why you shouldn't eat after a certain time, because it keeps the body constantly working when it should be resting. So, it is important that you stop abusing your bodies or in your ignorance feed it wrong foods, because if you do you are destined to pay the price, because for the sake of future generations it no longer suffices that we say there's nothing we can do, we can't leave our world's well-being to others. Instead, we must become the guardians we are created to be, something we can fulfill as a way of thinking, by knowing that when it comes to our body we can't depend on the present-day physicians alone to tell us which minerals, nutrients or elements our bodies need, or what eating habits are necessary in order to turn us into deities in control of our own destiny, because they don't know, and those who do know won't say. The mitochondrial DNA always passes through the female. A woman is a composite of her mother, as she passes on her genes to her daughters. Jesus was unable to have an heir, as he was a male, that is why he needed Mary of Magdalene. The days of the Adamite legacy, after his death, was 800 years, that is what his children claim, that his children lived on and awaited his return. For they did not understand death. So all the days of the Adam's physical life was 130, and his spiritual remembrance was 800. So all the years of Adam's life was 930 years, and his own legacy was replaced by his son Seth. The days of Titi or Eve was greater than the days of their Adam, for the female is to outlive the male, as she was the first fashioned, and from her comes the male. She lived 200 years physically and her spiritual remembrance was 800, so all the years of her life is 1,000 years, and her own legacy, the seed of the woman, was replaced by her son Seth and his seed. The Anunnaki are here, and they are extracting the DNA of people worldwide to see who is of them. They are sifting out those who are of them, so they can be taken back with them. This is being done by way of television advertisements that lure people into sending in their blood to find out about their ancestry. It's all a trick, so don't fall for it. They are not our Netaru. And Lil's side of the family are meat eaters, and guess what you're made of? His job is to keep you under the spell of religion, so when they harvest their crop, Caucasu, Arabu, and the Nagaru who believe in them, you will go willingly, thinking it's a glorious rapture. It is within their interest to keep you from knowledge of your true concept of the Creator, as children of Ptah, the Tarites. One of the earliest, if not the first, African creation god of technology was the deity Ptah, pronounced Tar. Ptah was considered the grand architect of the universe, divine craftsman, and the primary creator, that was responsible for creating himself, the universe, the heavens and the earth, as well as the other deities, and thus was given the title the Ancient One. Ptah was considered the god of craftsmen, blacksmiths, artists, artisans, stonecutters, architects, builders, sculptors, masons, and engineers. Ptah was depicted as a bearded man wearing a skull cap or kufi, representing protection of the mind, and his body was shrouded, so that only his hands are free, representing taking action on the thoughts of his mind. In the coffin texts, in spell 1130, Ptah says, "I am the master of creative fire who lives on truth." Ptah is depicted shrouded to show that this creative fire, desire, passion, and energy, must be tempered and controlled with reason. His hands were shown holding a scepter, that was a combination of the Died pillar, Ankh, and Waz, which represented the tools that aided Ptah design and create. In the city of Memphis, Ptah was part of a triad, including his wife Sekhmet and his son Nefertum. In the Memphite theology, named for the Egyptian city of Memphis or Men-Nefer, also Hut-Ka-Ptah, which dates back to 4000 BC, and was carved on the Shabaka stone during the Nubian 25th dynasty of Egypt, the African deity Ptah was described as the opener, who through creative utterance, called the universe into existence, after having imagined creating in his heart and speaking it with his tongue. By definition of function, the role of the African deity Ptah in African philosophy is equivalent to the logos, creative utterance or logic, the tongue, and the nu, intention of the mind or reason, which the Egyptian believed existed in the heart, in Greek philosophy. Depictions of the African deity Ptah show him standing on a four-sided platform foundation which represented Ma'at, truth and order. The name Ptah has been translated as meaning creator, and also has been translated as meaning the opener or sculptor. Although Ptah as a deity was known to all of the people in ancient Egypt, the worship of Ptah, or the study and practice of the science and art from the school of Ptah, was only available to certain elite and elect individuals, considered the priesthood of Ptah. Therefore, the many principles and doctrines associated with Ptah were kept a mystery and a secret from the general public, in order to preserve the craft. Derivatives of the name Ptah are found in the Bible as Japheth, Strong's H3315, translated as opened, Riphath, Strong's H7384, translated as spoken, Pathch, Strong's H6605, translated as to open or to carve or engrave, Pether, Strong's H6363, translated as firstborn, firstling, or that which separates or opens first, and Patsa, Strong's H6475, translated as to part, to open the mouth, to separate, or to set free, liberate. The Apis, or happy, bull was considered the soul of Ptah. Phonetically, the zodiac sign Taurus, which represents the bull, is similar to Ptah Apis, pronounced Tar Apis. While alive, the bull was known as the spokesman of Ptah and the soul of Ptah, called the Ba. Apis is also considered one of the sons of Ptah. It was believed that the Apis bull was conceived from a bolt of lightning. The appearance of the Apis bull was black with a white diamond on his forehead, the image of a vulture on his back, double hairs on his tail and a scarab mark under his tongue. The Egyptians thought lightning was Ptah in the form of a celestial fire, and the thunder that came from the lightning was the tone of Ptah. It was believed that Ptah, in the form of lightning, mated with a celestial heifer, thought to be Hathor, and gave birth to Apis. Scientifically, lightning, or electrical discharge, is the visual representation of the sound of thunder. The etymology of the word thunder comes from the Swedish words Thor's din, and is also the origin of the word tornado. Thor was the European Norse version of Ptah, and even the name Thor is phonetically similar to the name Ptah, Tar. Thor was said to be a Norse deity of thunder and blacksmiths, who was depicted wielding a hammer called Mjolnir, which was a modified version of Ptah's Ankh scepter. Other European versions of Ptah included Irish Toiron, Celtic Tyrannus, the Greek Hephaestus, Iapetus, and Roman Vulcan, which is the origin of the word volcano, and was said to have used volcanoes as a forge for blacksmith metallurgy. Volcanic eruptions into the atmosphere can cause thunder and lightning. Examining the names Thor, Toiron, Tyrannus, and Hephaestus shows how these derived from Ptah, Tar. The planet Earth was visited by all different types of beings from other star systems. There were some beings called Shaggies, or your Bigfoot, from the star Sirius, who came to hunt prehistoric animals and dinosaurs. Some extraterrestrials are in forms you can't even perceive. Some are in human form like the Neteru, from the 19th galaxy called Ilion. They are supreme beings, who possess woolly, kingly hair. Then you have the Venerians, who you call Venusians. There are extraterrestrial beings that look like insects. There are insects and rodents that are here right now on the planet Earth that are extraterrestrials, such as the grasshopper, scarab beetles, and roaches. Not to mention that some plants are alien life forms. Some extraterrestrials came for minerals and other natural resources on this planet, such as gold, water, chlorophyll and vegetation. An example is the Neteru, who came here in search for gold, to protect the dwindling atmosphere that allowed damaging ultraviolet rays to reach their planet Rizq, which is the 8th planet in the 19th galaxy called Ilion, on high. The Neteru came here to mine gold to build a dome on the 8th planet, in the 19th galaxy. Your planet was what would be considered a resort thousands of years ago. The extraterrestrials see Earth the same way as you do when you go on vacation to other cities or countries. There are extraterrestrials living in your midst. They come in many different forms, for various reasons. The Europeans are seeing the Nordics, Euro-Americans are seeing the Greys, the Italians are seeing the Reptilians, and also, the Chupacabras, goat suckers, have been seen in Puerto Rico, Texas, and are said to be in southern Georgia. This is a worldwide problem, not a race problem. They are being seen all over. It's not a black or white thing, it's a gray thing. The extraterrestrials are everywhere. These four, mentioned, are the most common ones seen, but there are many more that just don't come up as much, except for maybe in the instances of meetings held in the center of the Earth, where there are multiple beings that inhabit the planet Earth already. They have finally got around to admitting, the center of the Earth is hollow, inhabited by the elders in Agartha or Ashara. One of the main reasons why people do not know, or if they do know won't acknowledge the existence of extraterrestrial beings, is because of religion. If a religious person were to acknowledge the fact that extraterrestrial beings do exist, their whole religious concept and ideologies about God would crumble. They don't want to admit that there are extraterrestrials in their midst, because that would mean they are questioning the very existence of God, and that is something that you are taught you simply do not do. Many people leave abduction experiences and pass them off as a vision from God, because they can't or don't want to accept the existence of extraterrestrial beings. The very God you are worshipping is indeed an extraterrestrial. Many think of God as an unquestionable ruler with poof power, meaning he can merely wave his hand and things come into existence or are destroyed, a God of miracles. But what is a miracle? Miracle is defined as an extraordinary or supernatural events, remarkable occurrence, and development. To understand this, you must realize that there are two types of masters that are present here on Earth, one God mind, the other demon mind, whereby God mind rules by facts and compassion, and demon mind rules by spreading hatred and promoting fiction. The Brotherhood of God Mind was established by the original 24 Elder Guardians, who were and are known by the name Magi or Magi. These Magi, through the knowledge and the science of alchemy, manifest the pyramid science called miracles. The word mir is the Tamuraic language of the ancient Africans, word for pyramid, and as such holds its origin to the pyramid schools, and the sciences which were and are still taught within them. The Book of the Living Soul, 7:105-114, the plane of divine reality is the mental spark, the true essence of being. The light of the life in human beings, a divine spark, reflected spark from Anae, the most high heavenly one, manifesting itself as effect. Light disturbed the supreme balance men of darkness and he created individualism, or a focal point, which manifests there, as opposed to here. This spark is in each individual, making them a supreme being, onto beings known as Neteru and Neterat, then onto human beings, onto human being, onto human, onto men, onto mammal, onto beast like man, beast onto demon. As ether being rulers of the agreeable Neteru called Seraphim, who can incarnate on behalf of human beings, the disagreeable forces of Isfat, called cherubim, can incarnate on behalf of man and man-beast. There is another group of fallen angelic hosts known as Luciferians or Magus, magicians, who use illusion and ignorance to perform magic, where you are bewitched and thus spellbound, accepting the surreal as fact. Magic equals witchcraft, conjuring tricks, enchanting. They are responsible for your Abrahamic religions. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam were all covenants made with the Anunnaki, ETs, as food for the gods. Paul created the covenant of Christianity with the ETs. Because Adapa, Adam, and Titi, Eve, was half reptile and half mammal, they developed sweat glands as the mammalian, and lost their shiny, luminous, reptilian skin, their scaly hide, and most of their saurian nature to be herbivores not carnivores. They also developed green body fur and hair. They acquired much mammalian characteristics, such as soft, flexible, thin skin, and the need to sweat and smell. They were seen as blemished, impure, unclean, defiled creatures who sweat putrid drops. In Genesis, there was 2 trees, the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. In Tamari, Egypt, the tree of life represents the mafkuzeh, liquid gold, also called monatomic gold in modern times. In Mesopotamia, the pine tree was the cone, or pa ta'urkawas, the pine cone. The pine cone had the secret of extended life, for the aliens who needed such a thing, and the formula was protected by Ningishzida son of Enki, the keeper of the tree. When Cain was told to go back and redo his offering so it would be accepted, Enki saw that Cain's countenance was falling, that his face was falling, that he was shapeshifting to the appearance like a Nephilim. The Hebrew in the quotes read the pane or panyan, for face, and Nephilah, which is also used for the fallen angels, the word Nephilah. That is their trigger, or one of them, to become angry or transformed. They showed this in the movie The Fifth Element, with those disagreeable creatures, Mangalores. One of them was trying to impersonate a person, and because they had to keep going back and forth to the ticket counter, he became impatient and shapeshifted his form. There are many beings on our planet, living today, that also possess this shapeshifting ability. The Al-Haadi of Tamari, ancient Africa, based their knowledge of the elements and attributes on scientific principles rather than opinions. They knew that 3 subatomic particles, protons, electrons and neutrons determine the makeup of an atom, and thus it affected how and why they chose to arrange the original periodic table in a circular arrangement, which we find hidden in the ceiling as the Dendera, located at the Temple of Hathor, whose symbol is the crescent U, the letter C equals carbon, and O equals oxygen, 2 forces, elements, necessary for humanity to live. These guardian masters as Al-Haadi, knew that although the world and nature which they control appeared extremely complex to the uninitiated, all that we are seeing is just different forms of the 5 basic primordial elements, viewed under the science called the doctrine of quintuplication. Even the Greco-Romans, such as Aristotle, who attempted to claim the sciences of the guardians, felt that there were 4 elements, yet he too was lacking the Tamaraean, ancient African, realities that holds the ancient pyramid science, called miracle, and what it teaches about the elements called quintuplication. So, being unlearnt and only thrice initiated they, Greco-Romans, and other Europeans left out the creative force of will, hu-he, which gives a thing the will to exist. This force works through the spiritual realm and realm of force, where forces govern and control the black print, sometimes called blueprint of the physical realm. The so-called modern science of chemistry was developed from the Al-Haadi of Tamari, ancient Africa, where our ancestors saw that by burning a stick, one is able to view it breaking down into the 4 elements, earth, wind, water, and fire, Tamu Nefu Set. How, you may ask? As they burnt a stick from a tree, it went from a stick, earth, to water being burnt, heated out of it, making a popping sound, which next produced a gaseous effect, wind, and finally the fire consumed it, further making it appear like coal, fire. This effect you can see by starting a small campfire and placing a fresh log, small tree branch on the fire and viewing it for yourself. This, as well as the fact that it was these Nubian Melanite sages from Tamari, ancient Africa, who took some of your sciences to Europe to civilize and clean them up, is the reason why these chemicals should by right still have the names of the elements of which they are composed, and the names of the guardians who are responsible for uncovering and growing them. Why? Because it was these beings and their students who brought the elements forward, and manifested them for the visible world. Just as today the Caucasus have named the 99th element Einsteinium after Albert Einstein, whose students still further his works to this date, as well as a Tesla unit in quantum physics, which was named after Nikola Tesla. But when we say the names of our ancestors and that they uncovered and birthed these elements, all of a sudden, they can't overstand the same principle. This is because there are those who seek to extinguish the black light of the ancients, yet, the wisdom of the guardian masters still prevails. Also, note that atoms and cells are both forms of energy. Atoms equals atomic energy, and cells equals living, cellular, energy. The life force lives in atoms as well as cells. This is something which was given to NWPU during the Dark Ages by the Tamaraeans, ancient Africans, who brought with them a storehouse of ancient wisdom and knowledge, though today many NWPU and their progeny in America try to act as if this never happened.